Coming up, a domestic squabble in Phoenix actually highlights one of the hazards of the job as a 911 dispatcher. I'm Drew Breasy. This is the Comm Center. I'm an authentic cop, and I've teamed up with Jon, an actual 911 dispatcher. Jon and I are ready and willing to lend our expertise to this case, and we were both shocked and surprised at how this one ends. So make sure you stick around to the end. All that and what it means for your weekend on the Comm Center.
Wake up, America. It's the Comm Center with Drew Breasy. It's a TV show on the internet about two best friends who raise a golden retriever that can play basketball as a power forward. An injury occurs at the state championship, and upon finding there is no rule against dogs playing basketball, the dog leads the team to victory. The following season, the player who got injured is cut and permanently replaced by the dog on the team, losing his college scholarship. And well, you know the rest. I'm Jon. I'm an actual 911 dispatcher. I'm so actual. Could you believe that we somehow dug me up and put me on this show? Joining me, as always, Andrew Baxter. Mm-hmm. Drew, I always have such a hard time saying your real name because I literally know you by your nom de guerre. But he's a former detective, sheriff's deputy, corporal. Did a whole bunch of really neat stuff as an actual real life policeman officer. Now he's your podcasting partner with those police benefits. Drew, how the hell are you?
I'm good. Sergeant and lieutenant, you forgot.
I just figured you just went after those things just in whatever order you wanted. I don't know.
You're always, I know it's intentional.
I didn't do corporal. I don't see sergeant as necessary to becoming a lieutenant. I just figured someone just made you one.
I do like that you're actually actual, though.
I'm so self-actualized, yeah.
Yeah, you are.
That mask off. You said it was impossible, but I did it right in front of you.
Right, id. We're going to get right into it. This is edited for brevity. The context has not changed. This is 2 years old.
Sergeant Vincent Cole with the Phoenix Police Department Public Affairs Bureau. The information you're about to see are intended to provide details of an officer-involved shooting that occurred on May 29, 2022. This incident occurred in the area of 24th Street and Cactus Road when Phoenix police received a call of a domestic dispute involving a firearm. The man with the firearm was later identified as Tony Brown. An adult female in the home placed a 911 call where she mentions that Mr. Brown has a firearm and has fired several shots in and around the home. Here are several excerpts from that 911 call.
Do not, don't put your gun down.
Where is your emergency?
I have a husband that's having a meltdown.
Okay, what is your address?
Phoenix 85028. He's having a meltdown. There is a gun in the house.
Oh, let's go. Let's go.
Okay, this is a house, and you said he's having a meltdown. Is he diagnosed with any mental?
No, he's not. But he's drunk and stupid, and he's being very destructive.
Well, let's go.
Okay, what is his first and last name?
Tony Brown. No. Ow! He just shot in the door.
You said he shot in the door.
All right, so they are the ones that provided the captioning for this. Like when they completed their community briefing, which I love. I've commented several times on Phoenix PD's Instagram page. Like, I love the way they do these. Like, this is 2 years old, and I still admired this case just for the way it was laid out and everything. Obviously, it makes it easier for us, one, but two, they have a lot of action there in Phoenix. I just came back from Phoenix, Jon. Lovely, lovely place. But, Phoenix, Scottsdale, Mesa, it seems that they're very progressive in their law enforcement. And it also seems like the Department of Justice is after Phoenix for not. Look, I don't think that they're doing anything wrong. I mean, I didn't read the full DOJ report, but at any rate, they seem to be very transparent and very forward-looking. My wife and I were actually there for a real-time crime center conference because that's what she is currently doing. She's currently establishing a real-time crime center here at the agency where I used to work and where she currently works. And so that's what we were doing out there. But the whole area is nice. Have you ever been to Phoenix, Jon?
I have. It is beautiful. It's hot. I did get mugged while I was there, and unfortunately, I had to mug 3 people just to break even, Drew.
I understand why. You're a tall guy. It did not come across as unsafe to me. However, every day we watch the news, there was another shooting. And not to make light of things, but there were 2 officers that were shot there last night. One is, I think, in critical condition. One's expected to make it because of the ballistic vest that saved her, possibly.
I wish I had not made that joke.
No. I don't think. I mean,
I'm sure they're laughing, and there's a whistling sound coming out of the hole in their side. But whatever.
I knew that. I knew that I was going to set you up for that.
I have some takes about this 911 if you like. I'm so actual.
That's exactly why I stopped it. Go for it.
So first you answer the phone, and within a millisecond you hear "put down the gun." So now I'm clenched. I'm locked in. I'm not doing anything else. Like 100% of my attention's locked in. I need to know the address, and as soon as I have that, I'm going to page it out for any unit in position. We got a possible weapons violation because we've got some chaos. We've got at least 2 people there arguing, possibly a domestic dispute weapon involved. This is one of the most dangerous calls that I can take, so I'm going to put it out for any unit position. Finding out that he's having a meltdown, that's often very frustrating for us as 911 dispatchers, because someone will call in with a colloquialism like they're freaking out or they're having a meltdown. And I don't know exactly what that means, because that can mean different things to different people. Also, I don't like to put on the radio, subject at this residence is freaking out or having a meltdown, because that's not professional. So disorderly conduct is usually how that gets distilled down. She did mention that he is stupid, which cannot be helped. However, he is also intoxicated, which police officers will need to know when they arrive on the scene. As Drew can tell you, a person who's incapacitated through alcohol and perhaps through stupidity may have a diminished capacity to respond to commands. I would not waste time with finding out what the suspect's name is unless, Tony Brown, especially in a town like Phoenix, they're going to have so many Tony Browns, she's not going to be able to use that in her CAD necessarily to figure out anything helpful. Perhaps with the address history, that would be more helpful than necessarily knowing who Tony Brown is. But very hot call, domestic in progress, firearm involved is how I would dispatch the call. Drew, go ahead.
Buddy, we are on the same page, because when I was editing this, I was like, she used the term, that's exactly what struck me, is like, oh my God, she used the term meltdown, which indicates to me this is a pattern behavior.
Yeah.
Like, she even has a name for it. So
he's melting down again is sort of the implied situation there.
Yeah, I mean, meltdown usually refers to what a kid does on the target floor when on the floor in the target when he doesn't get.
I didn't allow children to melt down when I was the security guard there, Drew.
Yeah, I don't blame you. Yeah, I know that you arrested a lot of kids. So
I'd be surprised. Kids don't have any rights, Drew. It's easy to arrest them.
Yeah, right. And their parents are usually right there. So when she gave it the term meltdown, I was like, okay, we are dealing with a chronic drunk here, probably more than likely. And that's that may be what prompted the 911 call taker to say, hey, like, does he have any mental history, or
it's a good question. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a great question. Like, you mentioned the word meltdown. So obviously the 3 of us keyed in on that. That's good. We're all on the same page here. Let's hear how it plays out from here.
He's not in the door. I'm in here.
Are you able to go upstairs away from the front door?
Oh my God, he's shooting at my door. He's shooting at my door.
Can you go upstairs?
No, I can't go anywhere. He's shooting in the door. He's shooting the door up.
Get away from
He's shooting the door up.
You get away from the front door.
I'm in the bedroom, but if he comes in here, he lost it.
Okay, you said he's shooting. Are you able to get away from the front door?
He's shooting in the door. He's probably, oh my, no, woo!
All right. Also, John, some of the things that he's saying, among the things he's saying, like, that's where I was going with the caption thing. The caption,
let's go 911.
Yeah, the caption said something about animal or something, but he was actually saying, let's go fucking 911.
He's belligerent towards the police. They probably have a bulletin out on him, actually.
He's ready to go. I mean, he is obviously a loose cannon, no pun intended, and he's shooting through the door. And
the bedroom?
Apparently, yes.
Okay, so that's what I didn't understand is the 911 dispatchers. He's shooting out through the front door, like to dissuade anyone from coming inside, which, it would be a little early. But if he's shooting into the bedroom, then she's about to be murdered.
Well, that's why I say that this is one of these triggers for 911 dispatchers that people don't think about. It's gunshots, like hearing gunshots. I think you can faintly hear one at the beginning of the call, but hearing gunshots is something that you'll never not hear again, right? One, and two, just like you say, um, you're now in a different, like, how do I put this? You're on a different plane because you're like, am I about to listen to a murder here? I mean, the guy's going crazy. He's got a gun. He's having what she terms as a meltdown. Obviously, this has happened before. He's yelling, let's go fucking 911. I'm about to fucking shoot it out and all these other things. He's obviously got a gun because she's describing it, and now he's shooting the gun. Wouldn't that put you on maybe some type of high alert when it comes to like a fight or flight response, John?
Yeah, it's difficult when she's under assault and she can't do anything. You're giving her advice. Can you get out of there? No, I can't do anything. She's almost bedded down. You know, like I said, she's under assault. There's rounds, assuming that they're coming through the door, giving her advice like, can you jump out the window? You know, if it's safe to do so, which you would want to throw in there for legal reasons. But she feels like she can't do anything. And as a 911 dispatcher, you can't either, because the advice that you would give for an active shooter would be, you know, number one, can you safely leave the area? Or number two, can you hide? And we know that she can't hide in that bedroom. So her final option may be to fight at some point, Drew.
Right. Right. Very, very scary moment. Any way you stack it, I think. Onward.
He wants a shootout, is what he just said.
Fucker wants to go. Let's
He
go.
wants a shootout?
And that's what he's screaming. That's what he's screaming. I don't know what's wrong with him.
Okay, and was your husband in the back of the house, or
He's
was
in
he
the front yard. He's in the front yard.
He's outside.
I see the officers on the corner. He's in the street he's in the street with a gun, and he's just been.
Okay, he's in the front yard in the street.
He's in the front yard in the street, and he's pointing guns at people.
Man, how agitated, like the description is chilling, because how agitated can you be? You know, you can hear the excitement in her voice. I think she knows what's about to happen, right? And she's like, he's in the street and he's pointing guns at people.
I am glad, though, that parties are separate at this point. He seemed to be fairly intent upon assaulting or killing her. At least by going outside, he's disengaged from my caller, which is always good. The problem is now is that the threat has spread to the rest of the neighborhood, right? The only other silver lining, if there is any, is that by him going outside, we no longer have to deal with possibly a barricaded subject or hostages. He's going outside and he's going to arrange the engagement between him and the police officer sooner. However, if he's standing outside with a firearm and if he's discharging it, he's about to eat a lead lunch, Drew.
These, by the way, are the worst guys to fight, because he's running on alcohol and pure adrenaline. So it's going to be a fight if you get close enough to him.
450 Frank 390 husband named Tony, being physical, holding a gun in his hand.
415 Frank is the police radio code for domestic violence. 390 is the police radio code for intoxicated person.
He's waving it around.
Yeah, we try to get his cars with the shield 17, and we try to get one or two more units.
And they're saying that he's a white male, 5'9", 200 pounds. Another thing, he's shooting the gun in the air.
All right, so these are the things I use this analogy all the time. You're flying at warp speed, trying to get there, running cars off the road, trying to concentrate. You're hearing you're hearing your computer go nuts with updates, first of all, which is another like little, no pun intended, trigger. And then you're hearing these radio updates where you're getting description of 5'9", 200. You're like, man, he's kind of built. He's got the gun in his hand. He's waving it around. He's pointing it at people and he's shooting it in the air. You're like, okay, it's definitely, this is the Super Bowl here. Like you're definitely you got to have your game face on in this one. And your last few moments of solitude are trying to get your thoughts together so you can maintain, your composure to deal with what you're about to deal with. And it's not easy to do, John.
He's already demanded a gunfight, so the dispatchers are also worried about sending the police officers into harm's way, but there's no choice. Obviously, they've got to engage him, and you're just hoping that you can get enough helpful information that will somehow make a difference. But in a situation that is like this, so chaotic, so quickly evolving, what could you possibly tell a police officer that he's even going to absorb as he's driving code 3 with his hand on his gun towards this situation? So it's frustrating for dispatchers, and I'm sure harrowing for police officers.
He's wearing a black tank top, gray shorts in front of the house, and let off 3 shots, so it sounds like he's outside. He does not have access to a vehicle. All the keys are inside of the house, and he's shot 3 times in the air, walking back and forth now in front of the house. For units responding, 21st Avenue and 3rd.
A couple more rounds.
If there's any 2 or 600 units to switch over to Charlie 6, references 415 Frank. The subject is shooting in the air. We only have 4 units going.
All right. It seems to me that she had to go on to another channel and try to get more units from another, maybe another precinct, another district. I don't know how they have it subdivided.
They're switching over to get more people involved, I would guess. We do something similar when we have a major case or a major incident going on in order to coordinate units from other beats or other jurisdictions. Sometimes with the state police, we'll switch over to another radio channel. Just wanted to comment that the call taker did an excellent job asking a very key question, no pun intended, but he doesn't have keys to the car. Now we know that he is immobilized in a certain sense. He can't jump in a car and go down the street and we can engage in a gunfight on the road or even a chase. He's going to be limited into a relatively small area given the time frame that we have to catch up with him by car. We're going to be able to identify and locate him fairly quickly, I would think, Drew.
Yeah, good point. Excellent point.
Control 63, start with the aircraft and the K9, please.
So the lieutenant gets on the air and says, start me the aircraft and the K9, please, which are assets that are amazing in a situation like this. Because
and due to defunding, now many K9s are being forced to fly the helicopters, which is dangerous for us all, Drew.
Right. Well, and then they can go on to robust movie careers.
10-4.
Control 63, the units coming 23 together. Start creating a crisis entry team just in case, and start moving up as soon as the aircraft comes 23. He can guide them in.
Great direction right there. So he's saying, when those units arrive, whichever units are getting there first, I don't care who it is, make sure that you create a crisis entry team, like some type of formation, like we would do for an active shooter, just in case, and just start inching towards there. Hopefully, we'll get the helicopter up in time for the helicopter to be able to guide us into exactly where he is, because what we don't want is for him to go back in the house. We definitely don't want him to shoot anybody in the neighborhood either.
Overwatch, air superiority. This is what's going to give you the tactics that you need to keep anyone from someone getting blindsided or caught or shot at before you can fully acquisition the target, which is the suspect in this case.
Here's the body cam.
As officers arrived in the area, they staged a short distance away and were able to hear Brown firing off rounds.
And we can hear him shooting out a couple more rounds.
Officers developed a plan to contact the subject, including deploying a stun bag, which is a less lethal option, and drove to a location closer to the house.
All right, so they felt it was important to include this information in the community brief. Like, look, we had less lethal options and we were ready to use them. We also tried to get as close as we possibly could to the house because we have no choice. We don't want this guy to go into somebody else's house. We don't want him to go back into his own. And what was the other thing the other thing that I noticed about that, and I don't know if you picked up on it, John, but he was incredibly calm. The officer,
very relaxed. Another day in Phoenix. Yep.
Another day in Phoenix. Like, he flipped his notebook closed, he put the clip on it, and he's like, okay, it's time to go to work. Pretty amazing stuff.
As they approached the residence, they found Brown outside, still armed. Officers gave several commands to Brown to drop the gun before he pointed the firearm at officers. That is when the officer-involved shooting occurred.
He's waving it in the air. Drop the gun! Drop the gun! He's walking. Drop the gun! I gotta get back. I gotta get...
Question for you, Drew.
Yeah, go for it.
Seems like they had a little bit of time if they were going to shrink the perimeter up on him and close in on him slowly. You saw that they deployed stun bags and things like that. I see this officer now holding what looks to be a Glock or similar pistol on him. Did they not have rifles that they wanted to deploy there? If I was having to engage a subject and we're over some distance on the street, I guess I'd prefer to be shooting at him with a rifle rather than a pistol. Your thoughts?
I replaced the sound of the GUN shot with that laser for stupid YouTube purposes. So what you heard is this guy who had the handgun out saying, I got to get back. And then you heard a laser blast. That means somebody else next to him did what he wanted to do. And that will, so I love having to talk in code. Because it makes things so much easier. But
he applied a sleeping pill at high speed.
He had the guy next to him had a blow dart gun. I said gun. He just had a banana, and the guy next to him had a very long banana. Please, let's not.
This is getting sexual quick, Drew.
Here's another angle of the incident from the body-worn camera of the officer involved in the shooting.
Good call on your part, John. I want to rewind just a little bit because I want to show something tactical for everyone out there. Look how smoothly he walks up to the car. He places his the underside of his hand on the bottom of the barrel and places that on top of the side mirror, which gives him a very stable platform to shoot from. Obviously, this guy has done this before, meaning either he's military trained or he's proficient with that.
He may just be Phoenix PD trained based off of how often they respond to these things.
No, you could be 1,000% right. You can see that dude is probably, I don't know, 80 yards away. If I had to guess, 70 yards away. I'm guessing. I truly am guessing. He's a dot on the screen, basically, and they have a yellow circle around him that says Mr. Brown.
He pointed it at us.
So you heard the laser go off, and you probably heard a shell casing hit the ground. One shot. And the officer that was holding that long banana said, he pointed it at us, which means I'm giving you justification in my body cam as to why I just used deadly force. And now you can hear the helicopter overhead.
Guns to his right.
The officer engaged Brown from an extended distance and utilized an optic. This enhanced view is not the actual perspective of the officer.
So look at that, John. I mean, like he's not even in focus, and they used, like a digital enhancement. They used a digital zoom.
They said enhance, and then they swiped their hands aside, and it was enhanced.
Right, enhance. So. Look at the size of the target. I mean, you'll see, you really have to kind of watch the movement. And so just realize this guy's looking through a scope, at this guy. So obviously he sees that he still has the gun in his hand. He's able to see that the gun is being pointed at them. I still say, just about every show that we have, like right before something huge happens, that body cam reminds you that it's on. But it probably jostles your nerves just a little bit.
He pointed it at us.
A team was organized and approached Brown following the shooting, but aid was unable to be rendered as he had died from his wounds. Officers at the scene located a firearm near the body of Brown. The officer involved in this incident has 4 years of service with the Phoenix Police Department and is assigned to the Desert Horizon Precinct.
I don't know where he's assigned now, but obviously he has 6 years.
Desert Horizon is such a cool name for a precinct.
I know.
What precinct were you assigned to, Drew?
Flatland vertical, flatland nothing. I was assigned to District 3. I was assigned to all districts at one point. District 4. I was never assigned to District 5, but we just go by numbers. We don't go by Desert Horizon or Riverside, or we don't have any of these.
They even do that in Los Angeles, the Rampart Division. Even that sounds cool.
Yeah.
You guys should change your numbers over to something cool so that your reports get jazzed up a little bit. Just a little bit of imagery can go so long into taking something relatively dry like a report and making it into a scintillating narrative of police exploit.
Yeah, I was assigned to the West Gatorland district. Like,
that sounds fairly dangerous. Yeah, if I have to go police Gatorland, that sounds like it sounds like a 1980s straight to VHS movie, but it does sound good.
The Easy Street district, because literally wildlife on Easy Street, the Carol Baskin, that's the district I was in. It's like you could throw a golf ball if you had a good arm. You could throw a golf ball from the district office and hit wildlife on Easy Street.
Something that's important to mention, that our show probably does some damage to police officers, because every week we're showing these engagements between the citizens and the public. And in some ways, we're trying to do this to show how professional Phoenix and other agencies are, and kind of do takes on when police actions look especially bad, like the Sean Grayson incident, which occurred. But it's important to mention this, Drew. You were a police officer for just shy of 30 years. And despite waking up every day with an unslakable thirst for legally sanctioned murder, you never got to shoot anybody, did you?
Never. I came very close on 2 occasions. One of them would have been an unfortunate incident and would not have been justified. Probably, I probably in today's terms would have been indicted. Thank God I didn't shoot. It was a guy that jumped out at me, surprised me. He was a handyman, and he was
handier than you thought.
No, he was at a customer's house fixing something, and their alarm went off. He set their alarm off. So when I showed up there, he came around the corner with the gun in his hand. Which
and of
was
course,
actually,
you being prior Air Force, the sound of klaxons going off just activated you to go full grenade on his ass.
Yeah, I was pretty sure it was a recall. Yeah, but he had a drill in his hand, and it looked, like to this day, I'm like, oh shit. Luckily, nothing happened. There was another incident. There was actually 2 incidents where I was standing in front of a car. That's kind of why I know so much about that. Where I'm glad that I did not shoot anybody. I'm glad that I didn't shoot anybody, period. But
let's talk pistol whippings next. Now, you have pistol whipped hundreds of people, some of which deserved it and others who maybe didn't.
Yeah, that comes in the interrogation episode.
that comes in the interrogation. You know what I want to know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
But you're right. So we highlight these things. Okay, so let's talk about that for a second. We highlight these cases where, you're seeing body cam of some kind of banana firing off cherry pits at people on the body cam on a weekly basis. And what's common is that those are uncommon, if that even makes sense. Now, the other side of that is we tend to play the 911 call up front, and those actually happen every night. Like,
I have taken one every single day of my shift. I think I've only maybe had one shift in 9 years where I didn't answer a 911 call.
And that's why I still say to this day, cops underestimate the fact that when I talk about trauma, real life trauma, witnessing trauma through your ears, which is the same thing as witnessing it through your eyes. You're just not in the same danger, but hearing it and seeing it are the same thing. And also the vicarious trauma of not being able to control the situation or get people to listen to you, just like we saw at the beginning of this one, where we talked about how she was trying to get the lady to go upstairs, to get out of danger, to get into safety. That works on your psyche. That is a form of trauma that can be very traumatic to people. So what I'm saying is, as cops, we're like, well, we might get into a hairy situation like once every 2 or 3 shifts, depending on where you work. Sometimes it's every shift, but sometimes it's once a month, sometimes it's once a year. Whereas a 911 call taker like yourself, John, an actual 911 call taker, actual 911 dispatcher, will go into work and you'll deal with these 911 calls on a nightly basis. It may not be as extreme as my husband is shooting through the door, but in some major cities, that is a reality. So, and what people underestimate is that sometimes there are consolidated centers where, or just as by virtue of it being a PSAP, public safety answering point, you're taking in traumatic medical calls, even though you're a police 911 operator. You're getting the initial intake of these traumatic, like, oh my God, I just cut my arm off. And then you've got to transfer it over to the ambulance. Well, your head is still painting the picture, so to speak, of some guy's arm being severed. It's just a gnarly thought, but you're not going to get closure on that. So that's kind of why I said at the beginning of this whole thing, and I'm glad you even brought that point home, John, that like 911 dispatchers experience something totally different than cops. And it's not on the same level. I say it's more traumatic. I say it's more damaging to the human psyche to not be in a scene where there's danger, because being there, you at least have a little control over it. Listening to it, you don't.
As a 911 dispatcher, you're typically covering a very large area too. Like, think about you on patrol, Drew. You covered a certain beat. So sort of lottery, luck of the draw that something like this would happen in section 3 or whatever it is, the area with the distant desert moonland horizon, beat of Phoenix or whatever. As a 911 dispatcher, you're taking calls from a much larger area, sometimes areas that are even outside of your own jurisdiction you're taking calls from, because that's just the breaks. That's how the phone calls come in. And so you actually have a part of everyone's emergencies, not just the one case that Deputy Drew Breasy is responding to, but in other areas as well. So we have a part of every single police officer's encounter that evening or that shift. Every single thing that they're doing, a police officer's scope of policing is just going to be limited to kind of their general area. But even as multiple things are going on, a police officer will be out with a suspect or a dangerous situation. And I'm involved in that too, because I'm providing you overwatch, I'm checking you, and then I'm sending you resources that you need, whether it's additional cover units or an ambulance or whatever. But I'm also doing the same thing, for an incident that's 2 blocks away or a mile away or 2 miles away or whatever. So we're kind of involved in everybody's everything. And it's a source of some friction between dispatchers and police officers, because to you, Drew, the patrol deputy who's there and you're on scene with your situation, that's your world entire. It's the scope of everything that you care about is right in front of you. And you need resources from me, and you need me as a resource, but you're just one piece of the puzzle to me. So it can be frustrating sometimes, as I'm doing so many of the things, including sometimes, as you said, medical stuff. So it can be very tough to juggle the disciplines where I'm trying to help you, figure out someone's criminal history, whether or not they're allowed to be in possession of a firearm, for example, and at the same time also trying to give medical advice for someone who's got labored breathing and edema. But I'm having to do those things.
Just one quick question, John. What does this episode remind you the most of? What other episode?
Officer involved shooting, Phoenix PD, the guy that climbed in the dryer, maybe.
There you go. So
yeah.
That's
this guy climbed in a dryer of stupidity. So,
well, Phoenix is a dryer. So the point of saying that is, like, we're going to put that card up for you to watch that video. Right.
There you go. Watch the guy that climbed in the dryer. That was a good one.
Okay, we're done. Stop it.